So, back in November of last year, I interviewed the owner of an insurance company who had discovered his own betting method within all of the data that he gathered in the last 2 years utilizing OddsJam. He had over 6,000 bets to look at, and he figured out this very simple betting strategy for everybody that is looking to do this super part-time, that has a very busy life and can only dedicate about 30 minutes to an hour every day. So check it out and pay attention, because this is going to save you a lot of time. See you in there. So this is the method that Tommy used in the last year after he compiled data to make 50K in 12 months, and also the people that he has been coaching have been having great success with this system. So I hope you learned something here. So this is the Tommy School method. So what you're going to do is go to the OddsJam Plus EV tab, and where it says minimum and max odds, you're going to put 110 max odds. So what that will do is diminish the variance. And later in this video, you'll have a longer explanation into all of these numbers. But basically, this is called the 20-cent rule. So what we want to be looking for is to be 20 cents off of Pinnacle, right? The bets that we're going to be hitting on the main and alternate markets. And for player props, you could be using FanDuel or DraftKings, because they're sharper on player props, right? So for example, here it says hit on Hard Rock the under 50 for minus 120, and Pinnacle is at minus 148. So this is 28 cents off of Pinnacle. There's going to be a chart here on the Excel that will also be linked down in the description, so you can see the bet to win amount, right? And the odds range associated with that. So let's look for another random bet. This bet just popped up. So here we have FanDuel as the reference, right? Because this is a player prop. So plus 110 on Bet Rivers and minus 108 on FanDuel. So here we have 18 cents off. So this wouldn't meet the criteria because this is 18 cents off, right? Let's look at another random bet. Let's say, so here where the Pinnacle is not there, you could either use probably the average odds, but Pinnacle is the main source of truth that he would use for main markets. So this is the Tommy School method speaking. Let's see. Okay, so here we have another bet. Pinnacle says minus 102 and Flip says plus 115. That's 17 cents. That wouldn't meet the criteria. So this bet he would actually pass down. So here we don't have Pinnacle as an option, right? But you can see that the average odds are minus 147 and minus 125. That's 22 cents off. So this would meet the criteria, right? That is basically the method. It's 20 cents off of Pinnacle for main markets and alternate markets, and 20 cents off of FanDuel or DraftKings if you're betting on a player prop. There's people out there, and I've interviewed so many different sharps now, everywhere from the really, really full-time, like incredibly passionate about it, making 30, 40K in a month, doing this 12 hours a day, to the people that are just trying to find an extra 2K, 3, 4K a month. And it ranges, and this system, guys, is for those people. The average Joe doesn't want to be in 1,000 different discords trying to tail picks at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, that just wants to find a time frame, 30 minutes, an hour and a half, whatever it is, just follow something simple, and then make an extra K or 2K a month, 3K a month, 4K a month. This is it. Okay, what's up, Tommy? How are you, man?
Dude, doing good. Just staying out of trouble and chasing those kids around. Nothing has changed in that sense since the last time we talked. So always staying really crazy busy with them. How about you, man? I noticed the traveling has been very fun to watch, to say the least. And you could see from March the 1st through February 29th. And the reason why I chose February 29th is because that's exactly 1 year of me running this system. Okay. And of that $51,000, $43,697 of that came from the process. Okay.
Yes.
So the last time that you and I talked, I was still working on things. I was still figuring some things out. And like you said, the video has done really well.
Yeah, I've been just on the move, just trying to stay nomadic, stay happy.
Yeah, that's been a good fit for you. And it's been fun to watch. Like I said, it's especially for that younger group that is looking to get into this, they see that they don't have to be set up in one place. They can really do this from anywhere. I think that's really a inspiration slash clarification that you don't have to be a one state guy like myself. You can actually do this and have some fun with it, especially if you're without kids or any tie downs like yourself. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think about that a lot because, yeah, no plans for kids anytime soon or any year soon for me. I turned 30 this year, so I'm already level 3.
You're fine. You're still young, my friend.
Yeah, I feel really young. I feel like I'm turning 20 years old again. I don't feel like I'm like,
I tell you what, I'm at 50 years old, and the stuff that I'm doing right now with my life, I feel like the 50 is the new 30, to be honest with you. And the reason I say it is with technology and the ability to
right?
really be outside of the box with your time and your thinking and your human interactions, dude, there is so many more opportunities that are out there that just weren't available 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Like when I was coming out of college, you found a job in your hometown and that was like your anchor, right? And then you built the
Yeah,
rest of your life around that. Now it's like, dude, I could do so many things from so many different locations and I'm not tied down to just Colorado. I literally with the insurance agency, we can go anywhere and still do that, right? Because we have internet
yeah,
access. With the sports wagering stuff, as long as you're in a state that has it, I can do that from anywhere. And so
yeah,
now I've actually got more energy going into 50 than I thought I ever would, because I'm not like my folks where they had their their careers. I mean, my dad was a plumber, my mom was a administrative assistant. They had to show up every single day. They had 7 kids. They really couldn't go anywhere and do things. That's totally different nowadays, and I think it's awesome. It's exciting, to say the least.
yeah. I agree with you. People are feeling better. Also, I don't know how what you eat or what that looks like, but that's also a major catalyst in just overall well-being.
Right. Well, it's good info in, good info out, bad info in, bad info out, right? The same thing with your food. Good food in, bad results, or good results, bad food in, bad results. So it's just how you
Yeah,
take care of your body. And the other thing
yeah,
about it, just go digging into that more, is you could be putting good things in, which you think are good things, but they're
yeah,
actually not good for your own body and what your
yeah,
metabolism is and what your nutritional needs are. And that's something that I just recently had gone through. And not to go delve into that too deep, but very similar to sports betting, just because the system that I coach, it works for me and my personality and my time frame, it may be something totally different in what somebody else needs. Different needs are out there, so a different system, different process. So when I
yeah,
talk to people, I say this is what works for me, and if you don't have these same disciplines and you don't have the same time frames and the same commitment to seeing the process all the way through, you're going to see different results. And
yeah,
because of that, I think I've really been able to help some people morph multiple avenues of information into their own style. So it's not like I'm like, this is it. This is the only way. So of
yeah.
the 22 different folks that I've really had extensive time with and coaching with, I've really seen some really good things out of them.
Yeah. Well, that's really good to hear because it's been almost 4 months since our last call, and I saw that the process, continued to bet what you showed us which that video is like actually one of the most performing in my YouTube channel. It's almost at like 3.2K views, and it still gets a lot of people in. And I saw that, look, it just kept getting better. And yeah, going back to, I know I just cut into it, but what you put in is what you get out, right? What you're doing, going back into betting, is definitely really good because the results speak for themselves. I think you're up, like, let me actually pull up your,
Yeah, so I'll share a couple different ones, and I'll kind of take it through how I go with my coaching calls now, and when I'm
yeah,
working with different individuals. So I show them three screens now. And the reason why I show them the three different screens, and can you see mine? All right.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. So I show them three different screens. The first one is my overall since I started this in January of 2020. And then I show them a breakdown of the time from January of 2020 through February 28th of 2023 before I fully implemented the process. And then the last one I show them is from March the 1st of 2023 to current results. And the reason I do that is I really like for them to be able to visualize how the fine tuning has and having a vision and sticking to a process has worked for myself and the different results from it. Because when you look at me over time and you say, oh my goodness, he's up 51,000, that's great, but that's from January of 2020. And
That's a
so
long time.
it
2021 or 2020?
2020 is when I started. So this is all time. Okay. Oh, so I guess it only goes to 2021 on the tracker here that it's showing you. But I started in
Uh-huh.
2020
Yeah.
and I wasn't really doing much
Okay.
during that time frame.
Okay.
So then
Yeah.
when you look at the next one, which is January the 1st, 2020 through February 28th, $7,808 of that 51,000 was profit. So let's even say that it was from 2021, which it's showing on the chart here. And
Yeah.
you break that down by the total amount of time, you're still looking at a 2 year time frame where I only won $7,000.
Yeah.
So I was seeing success, and this is what really got me to start to focus on what is working, what isn't working. So if we want to go back into the diet analogy, what you were saying is you weren't eating well, but you were still exercising, so you were still getting results, but it wasn't the overall
It's
outcome
getting
that you
bad.
were looking for,
Yeah.
right? So that same sort of thing was happening with me. I was winning, I wasn't losing anymore, especially back in the time when I paid for picks, and then the guy I bought picks from had a losing month. So not only did I lose the $995 that I paid him, but then I lost the bankroll of the bets that I placed as well. And at least within this system through odds jam, just by me betting everything and trying to follow all of the different systems, I was still profitable. But it did a couple of things. I didn't have the time all the time to maybe chase down all the R bets or catch the lines in time, missing on the low holds. And when I was seeing the positive expected value really working out best for me as far as my overall results, that's what started me to define my new diet, if that's a good way of saying it. So then I took that and I said, okay, these are the things that are working. These are the things that are not working. And when I come
Yeah.
back over into this sheet here, when I look at the
Hmm.
ranges of those underdogs, I was seeing that I was not being profitable in those ranges. Now, granted, it is a numbers game. And over the course of time, if I were
Yeah.
to continue to bet these, those numbers would sway back and I would make the 1, 2, 3% over the course of time. But a lot of guys don't have the bankroll to be able to weather that storm. You know what I'm saying? So what ends up happening is because they're betting all of the positive expected values and they don't have a fine specific focus, it can really affect their bankroll and they could have huge swing days, which are tough to deal with. And
Yeah.
that's where I ended up focusing in on the numbers between the plus 110 and the minus 220, right? So when we look at that time frame from January the 1st through February of 28th, I was doing all
23.
right. I was surviving. I wasn't losing money. So I was feeling better about things. But then when I made the flip and I turned it over, and you could see from March the 1st through February 29th. And the reason why I chose February 29th is because that's exactly 1 year of me running this system. Okay. And of
Yeah.
that $51,000, $43,697 of that came from the process. Okay. So
Yes.
The last time that you and I talked, I was still working on things. I was still figuring some things out. And like you said, the
Yeah.
video has done really well. People have really responded to it, not only to me directly, but also through your comments. And through the comments, I made an adjustment on my player props, because everybody was saying that does he just strictly use odds jam? And I was doing that. So then I started to do a little bit more research and found that FanDuel is a sharper book when it comes to player props. So then what I did is I just said,
Yeah.
okay,
And DraftKings.
yeah. And
Yeah.
so looking at those books in particular is now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take DraftKings and odds jams. And if they both meet the 20-cent rule, then I'll place the player prop. So that was an adjustment that I made on the fly.
Awesome. Yeah, I wanted to revisit that in this video, and I'm glad you touched on that because that was something. And even though it was still working with how you were doing it, things could improve a little more. And I'm glad you did that. And did you see an improvement from doing that?
I did see an improvement. And what I will say though is as I'm coaching new players, especially people that are just getting into my process, there's still a lot of ups and downs, a lot of volatility with player props, even using that process. So when I'm starting somebody out brand new and getting them just used to the process, I have them only focus on major markets
In
and
markets,
yeah, and take player
multiple
props off
markets.
to start. Okay. Until they can
Okay,
build a
that's
bankroll
great.
so that they don't have the fluctuation that in their wins and losses, because player props are streaky.
More
That's just,
volatile. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, they're
Yeah.
very streaky. It's what I've seen through my experience. But when I have a bankroll that is 100% funded by the sports books, it's easier for me to handle losses.
Yeah.
And yes, there is a bigger upside to it, but overall, you got to just get used to weathering those different storms and understanding those outliers and that type of stuff. So yeah, a big piece right here was just having that focus. Few questions that I constantly get when I'm having these calls. The first question I always get is, um, how strict am I on the 20-cent rule? I'm 100% strict on it. If it's 19 cents, I don't take it, even if I think that it's going to be a good bet. Okay. So that's one thing that I really, really am strict on and disciplined on. And I'm able to still get enough volume out there. And I'm going to show you another tab that I added since you and I talked that looks at the number of bets per day and the success I have based off of those numbers. And I use that to let them know that if you place one quality bet in the day, it's as good or even better than placing a bunch of positive EV bets by themselves. You could still be a very profitable bettor just using the system with one bet. So that's one thing. Like how many bets do you have to place? The second thing I get asked all the time is the timing. I place bets all throughout the course of the day. Sometimes I'm laying in bed in the middle of the night, but I have found, based off of feedback from different individuals that I've worked with, is that when it gets about an hour to an hour and a half within game time, you start to see a lot of line movement, and some guys have seen more volume pop up during those times. So I started to look into that a little bit more, and I did find that, especially right now as we are entering our slow season, with Major League Baseball, NBA being our really only markets once March Madness ends, that might be something I look into to try to find those quality bets, is that hour and a half to an hour before game times. Next thing I get
Wait,
asked.
so what that's like around 5 p.m. Eastern? Or
So
what time?
so that would be,
What does that look like?
if the game times, let's use NBA for example. If the game times at 7 o'clock Eastern, you would start really paying attention to lines around 5:30 to 6 p.m. Eastern time, which is, for Colorado, we're mountain time. We're going to be looking at a 5 p.m. start. So we're looking at those games at 3:30 to 4 o'clock for a little bit more volume. And I can say through my own experience, I did see, when I paid attention strictly during that time, better options. Because like right now, I still have my auto refresh. Right now it's 11 o'clock in Colorado, and I've got 4 bets that popped up. Right.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about Bet Rivers, and now that that popped up, how are you getting able to still maintain your Bet Rivers accounts because they're so fast at limiting? Are you using a couple? Are you on your second?
Fourth.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're on your fourth account.
Yep.
Yes, definitely with betting partners. Yeah, it's because
Yeah.
that was something I saw from your results. I was like, you're killing Bet Rivers, but Bet Rivers doesn't like to get killed.
They do not.
So
And I've moved multiple times using bet partners, like you said. One of the first bet partner that I've actually gained is the first one that's outside of family. So that was really interesting to work with him on this and coming up with a plan and everything else. And that
yeah,
is something that I will talk about more in the future, as that partnership continues to work itself out, because we're just figuring it out on our own. I looked everywhere on social media. I've looked on YouTube for how other people are doing it, and nobody goes into the details of it. It's something that's really held
yeah.
close to the vest. And I'd really like to see more content about how betting partners can be made. But at the same time, I understand why
I'll
everybody's
send you
doing
a
it.
video.
Yeah, and I seen one that you had out there. But again, I don't know that
The
most
guy in
people have.
Colorado with the
Yeah,
syndicate with the
yeah.
little yeah the
Yeah,
betting office.
I don't know how many average Joes have the ability to be able to put together that type of network and information and that type of stuff. So trying to find I don't want to say a simpler way, but more vanilla way, since that's the
Yeah, it's complicated. Betting partners are because you definitely need somebody you can trust. Um, I went to a syndicate here in New Jersey actually. I don't know if you know the guy Spanky, and he just had a whole operation going, massive, massive, massive operation, and they look for betting partners. There's one person strictly is assigned the role of managing betting partners. That's his only role. Under in Excel, finding them, making sure the money's good. They also split 50% losses and wins. So if the book actually freezes the funds, the betting partner is actually responsible for half of that money. So there's like these other things, and it's not really spoken about because I'm not sure like the legality of the legal loopholes around it. I know betting partners are legal. You can Google that. That's legal. But as far as the bets being placed, that's up to question. Can't really say much on that because I also have betting partners. I have a little syndicate operation, quote unquote, running out of Colombia. I actually hired two of my friends who smash offshore flip bets all day, and they're doing that. Um, but um, but yeah. So that's something that was interested in asking about Bet Rivers because I know most half of your profit is coming from Bet Rivers on this run, and I wanted to see like what, yeah, if that was all in your account or what.
no. I'm on to my fourth, and I'm sure it won't be long until I'm looking for the fifth. But I've been talking with people, and I've been lining up folks moving forward, and it's just on that one. MGM has in the last couple of months started to reduce on me, so on my second account, so I'm probably going to be have to move that. Same thing with Caesars, um, and yeah, it's just
Yeah,
outplaying the game beyond the sports books. And when I talk to guys
it's the
about
other game.
this, is trying to stay out of the radar, stay off the radar as long as you can, and being consistent in your bets, and um, throwing in some lame ducks every now and then to help try
Yeah,
to keep yourself off of their radar, are all part of the strategies that I help coach when I'm working with somebody. Um, and then so first thing is the 20 cent rule. Second thing is that I was saying is the time of the bets and how to get my volume in. And then the last thing is
have you tried? Sorry to interrupt you there, Tommy. This just came in my mind. Have you tried exporting this data and removing bet rivers to see how it's performing without bet rivers?
I have not, to be honest with you.
I'll be really curious to see how it works. Somebody that doesn't want to go through through the betting partner whole thing and getting money down. If they were just using their accounts that don't really limit as much, like FanDuel, Caesars, that are kind of their limits are still very workable. How that looks like without bet rivers, if you ever want to do that, because you can export all of that stuff,
There, go
and
ahead.
then on the where's these export bets, yeah, you could export.
All right, so it'll send it to me.
Yeah, you'll get like an email or whatever, and then you can just it splits everything up in rows very nicely by book as well, and then you can remove all the Bet Rivers books. I know Bet Rivers is one of them. Bet Parks, Unibet, those are all the same odds provider. So going to the strategy now that we got that, that was something really important that I wanted to go over the Bet Rivers stuff because half of the profit is from there. So
Yep.
yeah, so now going into the strategy now, how does that look like?
All right, so let's get back into one of the things that I bring up to guys all the time, because what I have started to understand is that the quality of the bet in this system is as important, if not more important, than the quality of bets. Because that was one thing that I was trying to do, is like get in all these bets and flip the weighted coin in my favor. Well, within this system, to be successful, you don't have to do that all the time, right? Obviously, the more times that you do it, the better off you'll be. But when you look in this range, so in this column here where it says the number of bets per day, this is if I placed one bet in that day, I'm 12-7. I win 63% of those days. And it's just whether it's green or it's red through the odds jam tracker, right? Because I enter everything into there because I want to be as transparent as I possibly can. So everybody who I'm coaching can see what I've got going on. And the same thing is if I bet between 1 and 10 bets, I'm 90-43 and at 67%. So when I'm telling people and they're asking me, like, what do I have to do to be able to be profitable in this? I said, if you're placing 67% is great. I place between 1 and 10 bets on this side here 40% of the time. Right. So it's not that I place a ton of bets all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm
Mm-hmm.
telling people that obviously as you go up in your numbers, you're probably see better results because we have the statistical advantage with the devigging that OddsJam already does, plus the 20-cent rule that I coach on. You are going to see great results. But I'm teaching the, average guy's day system,
Yeah.
meaning I've got a job, I've got kids, I got a lot of responsibilities. I can't always just be
Yeah.
hammering numbers and looking at
Yeah.
them and having it take away from the rest of my lifestyle. That's the process that I coach. And
Yeah. I really like that because there's people out there, and I've interviewed so many different sharps now, everywhere from the really, really full-time, like incredibly passionate about it, making 30, 40K in a month, doing this 12 hours a day, to the people that are just trying to find an extra 2K, 3, 4K a month. And it ranges. And this system, guys, is for those people. The average Joe doesn't want to be in 1,000 different discords trying to tail picks at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, that just wants to find a time frame, 30 minutes, an hour and a half, whatever it is, just follow something simple, and then make an extra K or 2K a month, 3K a month, 4K a month. This is it. So pay attention. Continue, Tommy.
yeah, that's exactly right. So on average, you'll notice I put it right up here. It's 20.97 bets per day on average. Now that average went up drastically during the NCAA football and NFL. And the reason for that is because I would be betting those Saturday and Sunday games all throughout the course of the week. So on those days, it would show that I had 40, 50, 60 bets, but it wasn't that I placed all those bets and sat down and spent all the time that it takes to get those bets down on just Saturday or Sunday. I had actually been placing them all throughout the course of the week. So on average, in a day, what I will place is around 10 to 15 bets in a day on average on normal days. And what I mean by that is when you have multiple sports available to you and you have the volume available out there as well. As we start to slow down with the NHL ending, NBA, March Madness, and then all you have is baseball, which has been everybody's Achilles heel. And I'm really excited to show this system work through that this next year because I saw good results from it. Is quantity, or the quality is as important as the quantity in this system. Okay, so going
Yeah.
back into my filters a little bit, I did change these as well. And the reason for the changes is I was trying to, again, fine tune this a little bit better, see better results, be able to help people who got into the system see success at a quicker rate. So in the old system, I was taking everything under the percentages. And in the updated one that I'm now running is 1%. So I don't look at anything that is less than 1%. It's all 1% or higher is the first filter. And then obviously the sports
Okay.
books that are available to me, all the sports, all the leagues. And like I said before, when I'm starting with somebody new and I'm teaching them the system, I have them just work in the alternate and the main markets and not the player props yet, just because of the volatility that we were talking about. Date range and games
Yeah.
all stay the same. Market width is the same, the minus 220 plus 100. And I did change the market width and I expanded that some because before it was 10 to 35. And I moved it up to 50 because what I was finding is there were some lines that were out there where the best available line was more than 50 cents off than Pinnacle. So I was missing out on some really good opportunities because of the lower threshold that I had on the minimum maximum market, because Pinnacle wouldn't show up. And I was like, God, everybody else is so far off the market here. What's going on? But if it wasn't there to compare against Pinnacle, I just skip it. I don't even look at it anymore. So when I changed this number, it actually opened up more bets because Pinnacle had it at better value for us. So that's why I increased those odds there as well.
Okay. Makes sense. So
All
you
right.
opened up the net.
I opened the net a little bit. Yes. Yes. And I have found by doing that, because I'm still getting the best price available, say on this over under is 135 minus 105. If Pinnacle came in at minus 155 before, and let's say it was a 50-cent difference, it wouldn't show up. And I would not place that bet because I didn't have a wide enough net for it, if that makes sense. All
Yeah.
right. So
Open up the net.
the other thing that I was doing when when I talked to you the last time is I was using bet to win, right? I've actually reverted back to a flat bet. And what I do now is based off of my bankroll, these are the ranges that I'll bet in. And again, when I'm coaching people, I say I never bet to win more than $100. So if I have a minus 130 line through, say, MGM, and Pinnacle comes in at minus 150, I'm going to bet to win $100. So I'll bet 130 to win that 100. But in that same scenario, if MGM is minus 110 and the Pinnacle line is minus 140, I'm actually betting $90 on the flat bet side. So I've changed that in how I make my bets. And the reason for it is I'm able to place the bets quicker because it's just flat and it's easy. But
Yeah.
I also feel that it's more consistent and just staying within ranges. And when the sports book is looking at you, and they're already probably brought awareness just because of your you're beating their closing line value on a regular basis. But if your bet amounts are at lower intervals and it's not raising major red flags, I feel, again, I don't have evidence of this, but I feel, and through my experience, is that they're slower to limit you, because when you look at my average winning bet size, I'm winning at I'm winning more bets at a lower value. And I feel that because I'm not hammering the books, they're not looking at me as strict when I'm only winning $47 on average bet size. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
So, what I do now is prior to my call with anybody, and I sit down with them, I send them a little formatted email, and I'll drag it over here. And um, just goes through a couple of attachments that I'll provide for them, what's going to happen. I ask them to follow my social media stuff and look at my affiliate link and everything. But what I do is I include this sheet, this bet tracker sheet for them, so that they have access to be able to track their own results. And then at the bottom is the tabs for if they want to use a flat bet system or the bet to win system. And all they have to do is put their bankroll amount in the corner here, and it'll automatically tell them what levels they should bet at.
Perfect.
So
So
that,
it calculates everything.
yep. So all they got to do is put it in here and it automatically calculates it. Um, and then as they're tracking their bets throughout the course of the month, they can see where they're missing, and if they're above the break even points. And if they're not, I had one of the guys reach out to me and sent me his bet tracker. He said, listen, I'm missing on the 130 minus 130 range. What do you think's going on? And when I went back through his bet tracker, I could see that the closing line had changed a lot. And that's one thing that I do recommend to guys, is that right before your games go off, go and see if you're still beating closing line value. And if you lose 10 or 15 cents of value and you can get that money out, I recommend that they do withdraw that bet, because it doesn't meet those qualifications of beating the closing line value of the line. Plus, once you lose 10 to 15 cents, you're probably losing those no vig odds from odds jam as well. So try to help them increase their winnings, that type of stuff, by being vigilant there. Because let's say they take 5 or 10% of your bet, or some books will refund you the whole thing if you get out of it. It's better to take that than it is to take the full loss. However, if they don't offer you that and you have to let it ride, then you let it ride. It is what it is.
Okay.
So that's another thing that I have enhanced, is really working with them to provide as much information as I possibly can.
How how are they doing? Their bet trackers. Who's the
Uh,
best one there that's still going?
well, most of them asked me to not share.
Okay.
But overall, and I'm getting ready to put this out as well, is every single month, what I do is I take the 22 that or the 20 that are under myself that I've coached, is I snapshot their results. I block out their names, and then I'll put them in a post that shows every single one of those 20 that have followed the system. So their names won't be associated with it.
Okay. You don't
But
have to say any names now, but who is doing the best? You don't have to
so
say
I
it.
have another guy that is out of Arizona. He's doing really well. He's been limited by a couple books, so he's already on to his first partner,
Betting
which is
partner.
betting partner, which is his significant other right now. But he's done really well. He follows it to a T. He was able to invest the same bankroll that I was at, which is at 5,500, and has been doing really well. He's been at it for 4 months now. I got another guy who
How much
is,
is he up?
I don't know that right offhand. I'd have to go into his tracker. I'll go over. Let me look at last
Yeah,
month.
take a look. Yeah, we don't have to show his name or anything like that. It's all private information. I respect that.
Yeah.
Actually, that you are respecting
All right. So
their
in February, he was up $2,900. January, he was up
Mhm.
26. And December, when he started with me, he didn't start till the middle of December. It was, well, December 6th. He was up 1,400 in that first month. So in 3 months, he's seen very, very good success. Um,
Nice, like 7K ish.
yep. So two, say three there, February.
That's great.
Yeah, about 6K. Yeah, and then
That's great. That's
I've
great.
got another guy.
He's doing it. He's doing it 30 minutes an hour a day, like during that in that time block that you said.
He's got a new baby. He says he bets most of the time when he's got daddy duty type of stuff. Um, Looking at his bets, let's go back a couple. So 8, 2, 17, 12, 5. Yeah, so he's right around those ranges of 5 to 20 bets in a day. This one is 14, 18. So that was a weekend day. Yeah, so he's right around those ranges that we were talking about. That daddy betting system. I don't know a better way of calling it. I got another guy. I'm looking at him right now. This guy started with a $500 bankroll. Okay. And so when you come back into that spreadsheet and you look at this flat bet rule at 500 bucks, nope, that's a little too much. So he's betting small amounts, right? His $500 bankroll, what he's doing is he takes half of the winnings and he invests it back into his bankroll, and the other half he's cashing out so that he could get his investment back. His new bankroll is at 800 bucks now, so the guy's doing a good job on what started out with just 500 bucks. So it's small and it is transactional, but he's doing good, and he loves it because it's a hobby for him, right? It's not all about the money that he wins at the end of it. He just likes following the process and seeing the results at the end of the night type of thing. He's funny though. He's a really funny guy. He's a preacher.
Nice. That's great, man. I'd love to hear that. I'd love to hear that you're helping people out, that people have actually seen success. I have had a couple of people hit me up from that first video we did saying that they follow it and they're doing well. They asked me a couple of questions, and then any questions I don't know, I kind of send them your way. I don't know if you've gotten a couple of DMs in the last 4 months from people that found saw your video.
Yeah. I mean, I've been starting working on some content of my own, and being a little bit more focus based, 3 to 5 minute type of snapshots for folks as far as providing information.
Yeah.
But the feedback I get from that video and people reaching out from me saying they've either talked to you and they had some more questions, or they just reach out to me directly because you had put my contact information. I've gotten more uh, contacts and more guys that I've helped out with through that video than any other source so far. So I'm glad that that's helping folks out and that they could see that this is something that they could do, and it's not as complex as what all these sharps out there saying that is necessary to become a profitable sports bettor. The system can be actually
Yeah.
very easy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's people out there with, and there's very few people, and I would add to that. I've networked with a lot of people the last 5 months, I would say, just from putting yourself out there in social media, making videos, people start hitting you up. And I've met some crazy, incredibly talented and gifted sharps that understand game theory and then also understand how odds move and odds work and getting the right prices. Those people are very few, very, very, very select. Those are people making 20, 30, 40, 50K in a month. I met somebody that made 100K in January, actually, and I was like, what the hell? But he is just an overall, he just understands this so NBA just specifically so well and player props so well. And doing this on limited accounts, also taking in injury news, taking in all these things in consideration. But those are people doing this full time, 12, 14 hours a day. Now, I wouldn't say addicted, but this is just their main passion. And then there's those people, like we said before, that don't have that time, don't care about, the sports as much or understand the games just as much. And just with this simple edge using OddsJam or just using any software that helps you shop for lines, because that's all it is, right? You choose whatever software you like. It's all at the end of the day going to pull data. Some are better than others, but at the end of the day, if you make money, that's it. Like, that's what you're looking here to do, right? You want to supplement your income. You have a baby coming on board, or you want to pay debt off. You need an extra K or 2K a month because the world is getting expensive, really expensive, especially here. Then yeah, this
Well,
is it. And I
and
think
that's
that this is a great. Yeah,
and
go
that's
ahead.
what I like to explain to folks is that you don't have to have all the knowledge that those sharps have, because those guys, I'll be honest with you, to me, that's a talent. Some people have
Yeah,
the talent of being
100%.
able to throw a baseball 100 miles an hour, or to drop a pass into a short window at NFL speeds, or a slap shot, saving a 100-mile-an-hour slap shot. Those guys have that talent, right? And what they've
Yeah,
done is they continue to fine tune that talent to get to the highest levels they are at and the performance that they're at. That's, to me, is what sharps are. Those are those guys that have fine-tuned that talent so much that they can look at things in an instant and have that grasp and that understanding of it. They've dedicated time. You said it's a passion. That's a huge part of being successful, is you got to have a passion of it, which means that you're doing it
yeah,
at 2 o'clock in the morning with the same energy that
yeah,
you're doing it at 2 o'clock in the afternoon with. And the average Joe cannot perform at those guys' level. I respect those guys,
yeah,
and I those guys are my unicorns, right? Like, I look at them
yeah.
and
They're
I see what
unicorns.
they're doing, and I hear and I grasp very small percentage of what they're saying and how they're doing it, but it awes me,
Mm-hmm.
because it is that level of talent for me in sports betting. However,
Yeah,
your daddy, what do they call it, beer league hockey, your slow pitch softball person, your flag football guy on Saturday afternoon with his buddies, that level of performance and success, that's what my system is. It's not sexy. It's not going to get you the model, right, that those top end guys are going to get. But I tell you what it will do is it will offset some expenses. It will pay for itself. That's a big thing, is like, don't invest into something unless it's going to pay for itself. And that's the lesson I learned when I bought those picks. I didn't have a process, and I became dependent on somebody else. And when that person was not successful, then I wasn't successful. So it was a double loss. And that's what got me going down this path of saying, I need to figure it out enough for myself that I could feed myself. Then once I figured it out and I felt confident in it, I wanted to teach other people to do it for a couple of reasons. One, I'm a coach at heart, right? My last name is School. I wanted to treat this as coaching school, and I have a passion for coaching. But the second thing, and where my real drive is at, is I hate the advantage that the sports books have and how they take advantage of
terrible.
people. And if I could get 10,000 people, let's say, to follow this system and they're successful, I get a little
That's
chip
a lot.
at this back at the sports book. You know what I'm saying? Like, you guys have made me
Yeah,
change accounts and find people 4 different freaking times so that I could have the advantage that you always have. That's bullshit. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, crazy.
So now that
Yeah,
I
it's so
flip
unfair.
the script on you, you're going to use, within their rights, their way of doing it. Well, I'm going to use within my rights a way to keep attacking you. And not only by finding betting partners, but also teaching as many people as I possibly can for free. I will never charge for my service. And I've had multiple people said, you should charge for this shit. I refuse to do it because I want the sports books to pay. There it is. So
Yeah,
when it all
I like
breaks
that.
down and it's all said and done, that's the angle that I'm coming from at it. 50 something odd $1,000 that I've won over the course of the time, the 40 something thousand that I've won in the past year, that's all been great. It's helped offset my expenses for my kids' sports and some travel things that we've done. But in the end, eventually the partners are going to run out. Eventually my time's going to run out. Whatever it might be, it's all going to change. But if I could create that butterfly effect right
Yeah.
now and help as many people as I can, that's what I'm looking at doing.
Well, Thank you for that, Tommy. There's very valuable information you're giving out. I just wish that more people can stumble upon this. I'm gonna, because that's the whole point, is spread it out, f the books. Um, there is some sort of, I would say, compensation, quote unquote, for people that we expose them to odds jam because it is work that we're doing. But the positiveness, the long-term effect is bigger for the user than it is for us. We're just kind of doing our part here and sharing the message, because at the end of the day, the gambling industry and the gambling mafia is a crazy corrupt world, everywhere in the world, not just in the States, especially in Europe and Latin America, where I'm from. I'm from Latin America, I'm from Colombia. It's completely terrible. People end up in the streets there, um, because just it's like they prey upon the weak, right? And it's not fair. And this information should be out and is pushed out as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we're just kind of playing our part there, and you know, getting some sort of kickback from it, because it's not like I'm looking at here say I'm 100% altruistic, but I see that there's a win-win, right, for me and for the user, and a loss for the book, and that's already a win everywhere.
Right.
And
Right.
well, win-win for you as well, because you also have your people.
Well, and what you
So
were saying
yeah,
before is they have to find a service to help gather the information, right? Whether it be OddsJam or another information gathering service. And they're going to have to pay for that subscription because they're in the business of making money. Um, and us working as affiliates with them, that's a way for us to be able to provide as much information, give them an avenue, help them understand that avenue. And like you said before, now it's a win-win-win. So it's a win for OddsJam because they're providing a great service. It's a win for the
yeah,
user because they have a system and a process that they could follow and offset that expense with and have some extra money at the end of it. And then it's a win for us because even though we give out all the information and we set the betting strategies, and guide them down that road, and they sign up under our affiliate account, that's how we essentially get our altruistic offset financially. So, and I'm always honest with somebody, and if they're even an existing OddsJam member, I still walk them through the process and have no
that's
problem doing
beautiful.
that. Whether it's
Yeah,
they signed up through you or if they went directly through OddsJam, I really don't care. I'm just looking to help people out.
yeah. And there's all of these videos are recorded on our YouTube channels for free. Like people could just watch them. It's like not we're not making on anything off of that. You can just watch it, and it's the same info everybody gets.
Exactly right. Exactly right. It's fun.
All right,
It's a
Tommy.
passion
Well,
project. I look to help out as many people as I can, like yourself. I love seeing what you're doing and keep up the good work, man. I think you're doing it for the right reasons, and that's why I enjoy these times with you.
sweet, Tommy. Yeah, me too. Definitely love connecting with other people doing this, because it's a niche within a niche within a niche, and it's like there's just tiny percentage of the betting population is doing this, and it's crazy that I still think about that. I'm like, why aren't just people, everybody just kind of does this? And even my close friends, close family, I'm like sit them down, I'm like, yo, this is how this works. I'm not a degen, how they probably view me, and they're still like mindless. I'm just like, wow, it really does have to just click with somebody.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's the perception of gambling is that you're a degenerate, right? Because nobody ever wins at gambling. And
yeah,
what has happened with positive expected value and the resources that we have available to us is we're actually taking the advantage that the casino slash sports books had and we're just putting it in our favor. So there's nothing breaking the law about that. There's nothing illegal about how we do it, but everybody looks at somebody who bets on sports as that individual that loses everything that they have. They steal from their family and friends to offset their and pay their bookie, or try to put food on the table. That's not what this is anymore. Like, the game has changed, and the perception needs to change with it as well. Somebody that could do this full time and put the energy and the effort into it, they're not a degenerate. They're actually extremely educated. They have
Very
great
smart.
processes in place. And because they see it now as an investment, it's not betting their gut. It's not betting a feeling. It's not betting an edge that really doesn't exist that they generate in their mind to make it happen. No, they have done a huge amount of due diligence to put the ball in their favor. And they're so good at it. And the reason why I say that these guys are unbelievable is now the sports books understand that they can be taken advantage of legally, and they don't like it. And that's how good
Yeah,
people have become. I don't even like to call it sports betting anymore. I call it day trading sports. That's what I'm doing. I'm day trading sports. Nobody looks at a
yeah, me
day
too.
trader as a fucking, pardon my English, as a loser,
You're good.
right? They
Yeah,
don't look at people on Wall Street as losers. Yeah, they may see them as snake oil salesmen or whatever else, but the thing is that you can win in this game by having a process in place. And we're not gamblers anymore. I don't gamble anymore. I place a
making
wager. I
investments.
put my investment onto a future payoff. I'm betting futures now. I'm essentially shorting sportsbook stocks. They should be priced at one range. I shorted at another one. And if it pays off, I win. I don't lose as much and I win just the same amount. That's what people need to understand they're doing. They're not gambling anymore. They're investing. They're shorting stocks, right? They're betting futures. That is what the mental concept needs to change about sports betting. It's not a gamble
Yeah,
anymore. We have the advantage over the sports books, and the sports books don't like it. That needs to change as far as
and
the perception that you were talking about.
that was put perfectly there. That was a moment of inspiration there, Tommy. Very nicely put. Because it is now, it is the truth, and I say this over and over again, and you say it, and other sharps say it, and it's we're gonna repeat it forever, even if it sounds like a broken record. But that's just the reality of it. Because I don't like that. I do not like that negative connotation with the people that do this correctly. It shouldn't really be seen as like, oh wow, it should be respected as any other sort of side hustle or even main stream of income for some people. But then again, I'm like, there's a part of me that's still kind of not, I wouldn't say likes it, but makes it so that we as sharps stay sharp, because if everybody did it, the edge will be gone. Because then both the sports betting market would become efficient. There will be one monopoly that owns all the sports books, uh, that just controls everybody. There's not going to be a difference, because now there's just so many people doing it that that's just the volume is there to afford that now. So there's like there's two sides of it, but that's in a utopia or whatever the hell where everybody's sharp. But
Right.
that's people are gonna be degenerates, and I wouldn't say stupid, but not the word is not stupid. That's not right. But people are not gonna. The vast majority of people just are just it just doesn't this just doesn't click. This is very an
Correct.
analytical, numerical like minds that will just get it instantly, right?
So I was
And I guess that's what makes it profitable.
Yeah, so I was reading this study about addiction, right? And what addiction is it's an increase of serotonins and adrenaline that come into the body that the body constantly looks for once that addiction is gone, right? So where most sports bettors get into trouble is they're looking for the highs that winning
Yeah.
produces. And they're constantly trying to make that next high better, right? It's like any sort of drug. To make the next one better, you got to do more and more and more. And that's where people fall into the trap of it, right? So when their serotonin levels are high and their adrenaline is high, they're winning. They want that. when they missing and they start to chase losses and all the things about calling the 1-800 gambler line.
Gambler. Yeah.
Those are all very important resources. But the thing is that within the system that I teach, it is totally emotionless, right? Like I use the example of I love the Denver Broncos. You can see it all over my backdrop and everything. I love the Broncos. They beat the Chiefs. Now, this season. They beat the Chiefs in the regular season. They're going into Detroit. They have an outside chance at the division. If they go and beat Detroit, a team that beat the Chiefs earlier, it really starts to validate how good the Broncos are going to be. I might purchase my playoff tickets, season tickets, make the payment for the playoffs because we got a chance of hosting a game, all that sort of stuff. I was really, really excited about it. The Broncos go into Detroit and they lay a major egg. They got their asses handed to them. They got blown out. Come down at the end of the night. I pull up my bet tracker. I went 4-0 on the game because I had everything on the other side with the Lions because that's where the numbers were at. So it allowed me to still be a fan and be passionate in that side. And because the numbers were right and I treat it as transactional, it meant nothing to me to bet against my team. And that's where the difference is, right? I'm not looking for the highs and I'm not trying to beat the lows. I'm just following a process which takes it away. Like I get family members all the time. Oh, who do you got your money on? They'll send me texts. I see how you doing. Who do you got your money on? And my consistent answer is, I really don't know. That's what it needs to be for people to stay out of that addictive side and to get caught in that trap of becoming a gambler and having that negative perception.
Yeah.
If I put on a suit and tie right today and did this interview and was talking about let's say we weren't talking about sports, but we were talking about the future market like GameStop, right? And how that crowdfunding created a major change on how the average Joe can affect stock and affect hedge funds and all that sort of stuff. That same sort of thing, if I was talking about those numbers in a suit and tie and we were having this type, people would look at us as professionals in our field. They would see us as really smart people who were trying to stick it to the big man in a legalized way. Well, that's the same thing we're doing in sports betting. We're playing the numbers, we're taking advantage of their mistakes. And because we're able to do that, the more people we can get incorporated into it, the better off that everybody will be, which means we're going to have to continue to improve as sharps. The sports are going to continue to have to improve. And in that utopia world that you were talking about, if people saw it as a numbers game and not get caught up in the emotional side of it, there's no end to the upside. And there's legislation that they're talking about where these sports books have to put money into studies to make sure that they're providing resources like smoking and smoking addiction and keeping people off of that. There's one CNN report that I put out there a few times. The average 22-year-old to 35-year-old, they're more interested in sports betting than they are long-term relationships. So you're starting to see less men of that age range that care about or even have had sex within the last year because they are doing so much sports betting. So there's so much noise
Crazy.
out there that are negative about this and sports betting and gambling. They always use the word gambling. Well, sports betting and gambling are two totally different things. When you go into a casino and you're playing 21, the advantage is always against you. If you count cards, it's still statistically is such a slight margin that you have. It doesn't make sense unless you have huge bankrolls. Well, here,
Yeah.
it's totally different. Like I don't know how to explain it without sounding like I'm on a soapbox, but there's better ways for people to perceive gamblers or sports bettors as not as gamblers. And that's what I constantly, like you, people look at you and they're like, you do what? And I'm like, I'm a sports trader. I trade numbers on with the sports books. And when I tell them it that way, then they're like, well, tell me more. Then you could have that conversation. But if you just say I bet on sports,
Yeah,
people are like, oh,
trade.
dude,
Yeah, tell them
how have
the
you
oh,
done?
I trade the sports betting market. Like that's what I do. I trade the sports betting market. They're like, wait, what? I'm like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Sorry that got
anything
long
about
winded,
sports? I'm
but
like, no,
I think
no.
that's
That was
something that
part. Let
I
you
think that's
go. Keep
something
going.
people need to really understand about this is that be proud of it, right? You have gotten to a point where you have been successful in a field that is legalized, right? Now, in the past, you had to keep it under breath and out of sight, out of mind type of thing, but you don't have to do that anymore because if you're really good at something, you should tell people about it, right? And people should learn that about you so that you can be a mentor to somebody. You can be a status symbol to somebody, a role model, an idol, whatever one of those things is, because we do it with our athletes, we do it with our professionals. Like Tony Robbins when I was growing up, man, I loved that guy. He had great energy, and you know what? How is what I'm doing in sports betting any different than what he's doing and getting people motivated, getting them excited about doing something that they have control over? Awesome. You know, when I was following Don Mattingly as a baseball player growing up, I loved him as a human being. He was a great guy and came from a small town and worked his ass off. Wasn't the best player in the world, but had a great work ethic. Those are things that I idolize from those people. And it's because they were in respected professions. Well, you are doing the same thing that those guys are doing. You're encouraging people, you're motivating them, you're giving them phenomenal information, you're providing them with the blueprint to be successful in sports betting. You should be viewed exactly as those guys are and the impact that they have on people. And that's what needs to change when people think of what we're doing.
Yeah. Wow, that passion, Tommy. Incredible. Love that. That's good, man. That's you. That's just how genuine you actually care about this stuff and care about actually doing this correctly. I don't know if I have any more final questions. Or something. I think that was a great ending note right there. Just we went over the strategy the first half, and the second half we just spoke about the current situation in this stuff in this market, in the world, well, in the U.S. specifically. And I think that's a great way to end this. So yeah, if you guys have any more questions and you watch all the way till the end, if you want to hit up Tommy, I'm gonna leave his information there, or you're gonna upload this too in your channel. So hit him up, hit me up, or whatever, and we'll answer any questions you guys have. Um, so yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you guys for watching. Any final words, Tommy?
No, thank you a bunch, and look forward to helping anybody that we can. Let's keep beating the sports books.
Here we go.